It's time to check in on signs of financial stress in Elon Incorporated. I call it Elon Incorporated because it all blurs together, not least because of all of the self-dealing Elon does. Financial brinksmanship isn't new to Elon. He used a public company to bail out his brother's failed solar business when Tesla was already in a precarious position. So even though we're talking about the purported richest man on the planet running on the hairy edge of finances, and all the drama that goes with that is not just plausible, but expected. The largest aspect of Elon's financial stress is the result of him further reducing the value of Twitter. In case you didn't think it was possible to even more comprehensively destroy an internet property that had already lost more than 80% of its revenue, Elon has decided that the correct response to regulatory requirements in Brazil, Australia, and the European Union is his middle finger. Elon fans applauded, but the result is that Twitter is now worth less than the debt it owes to LBO lenders. In other words, Elon's shares of Twitter and the shares of all of his co-investors, which had been written down by some 70% if you take Fidelity's lead in disclosing their valuation of their Twitter stake, and he's driven that down to near zero. All of what's left, if Twitter is liquidated, would go to partial repayment of the LBO debt. Nearly $30 billion of Elon's most accessible liquid assets are now gone forever. Next, there's Tesla. Tesla shareholders face several risks. What's been widely covered in the news is that Tesla shareholders are worried that Elon will sell more shares of Tesla to cover the LBO debt payments at Twitter. I think that minimizes the risk to Tesla shareholders. There are much bigger bears in the woods than selling a few million more shares. Let's list them. Tesla can now make thousands of Cybertrucks per month. That's about the same as other money-losing EV makers make of their products, but each of those Cybertrucks is a rolling potential liability. There are so many things wrong with a Cybertruck that every one that's built is a potential refund to a customer. Not only are the individual vehicles lemons, but they can't be fixed. They are hard to insure. They don't comply with regulations in many foreign markets. Yield on the 4680 battery cells is still too low. Shortly after Cybertruck was introduced, I predicted that after having produced a few tens of thousands of units, production would end for exactly these reasons. The existence of every Cybertruck is a threat to Tesla finances. Tesla, moreover, is no longer growing. Tesla's valuation relied on the absurd idea that Tesla would become half the entire car industry. Tesla's price-to-earnings ratio is 10 times that of Toyota's. That's just one nonsensical aspect of Tesla's valuation. Tesla isn't going to be a robot company. Tesla isn't going to be a robo-taxi company. Tesla cars aren't going to be fully self-driving. Tesla isn't going to be able to make a $25,000 car. Elon's attempts at spinning more stories of future greatness aren't going to be believed. A class action against Tesla is proceeding, claiming false advertising of Tesla's, quote, full self-driving. Customers have spent thousands of dollars each on a product that doesn't work. It doesn't work when they bought it. It doesn't work when it's been upgraded over and over again over several years, and it has no prospect of working. This by itself is not an existential threat to Tesla, but it is added up to about $1 billion in revenue collected by selling this product, as alleged in the suit, deceptively. The big threat is that a class action can prove that Tesla FSD is never really going to happen, never was going to happen, which would make Tesla's valuation, in Elon's own words, approximately zero. SpaceX is another large component of Elon's financial stress. There are two major components to what's going on at SpaceX that indicate that SpaceX is highly dependent on payments related to government projects. The first is that the profitability of Falcon 9 is difficult to determine, and certainly something that would be heavily touted if it was reliable and financially significant. But the fact is, we don't know what it takes to build a Falcon 9 rocket, what it takes to refurbish one after it returns from orbit, and what is the true cost of operations. I started covering SpaceX because I thought the Starship project, not the rocket itself, but the way the project was being run, was bogus. It attracts a lot of fans because it is visible and iconoclastic. It doesn't follow the big defense contractor way of doing things. But if you know a thing or two about the origins of project management techniques, you know that a lot of that came from building rockets and other extremely complicated artifacts like strategic missile submarines. Saying you can develop a rocket using lightweight, iterative project management approaches is going to get you some attention, but is it going to get you a rocket in anything like a reasonable amount of time? And that is why I doubt Starship is going to converge on a usable launch system within the next few years. It's always going to be some test launches away. And that has gotten expensive. It's not just that the iterative approach to Starship has gotten expensive, it's that the total expense to arrive at a usable system is unknowable. Starship is a large liability of unknown size. What else can I predict based on this? Elon is going to get a lot more frantic and say even more stupid things on Twitter about the FAA, about the SEC, about California's consumer protection regulators. As stress builds, you will also see more vivid contrast between extravagance and threadbare penny pinching. This is a common pattern among idiosyncratic founders. It indicates a lack of perspective on priorities and on what can actually be accomplished. Rolling the dice on big outcomes from small bets is another symptom, and that contributes to bad working environments at companies where a stable long-term effort is needed to arrive at outcomes that can be rationally, objectively evaluated. In other words, when the founder is making it up as he goes along, it's tough for the people who know how to do things to get things done.